Here's a little background. So I was 20 and my daughter was 3. We'd just moved into our first apartment together. The flat was horrible, but it was a roof over our heads. It had some faults in itself. One major one was the fact that if you pushed my front door hard enough, it would open and anyone could have access to my house. Anyway, skip forward 6 months. I was laying in bed with my daughter, both of us fast asleep, when out of nowhere I awoke. I remember looking at my daughter, then hearing loud breathing. I looked over to where the breathing was coming from, and at the end of my bed there was a big, dark, black figure standing there. I froze in complete fear. I couldn't see no facial features, but I could see the body moving as it took every breath. I could also see the immediate surroundings, around him and behind him. As I snapped back into reality, I didn't know what I was doing, so I did the least expected thing and turned my head back round and held my daughter tightly and drifted back into sleep. When I awoke the next morning, I thought to myself, what the hell was that? I looked over, quite scared to look at the end of my bed, but obviously the figure had gone. But what I did notice was the fact that everything else was in the exact position I saw it early hours of that morning. The curtains, not open, not closed. You know, the door, the TV, everything was in the same position. I don't know what it was, I don't know who it was, but I never want to see it again. Number 2. So, I had just moved into a 2-bedroom house. My daughter now had her own room. The layout of it is you walk up the stairs. On the left-hand side is my room, and on the right-hand side is my daughter's room. One night I was laying in bed. It must have been about 1 o'clock in the morning. For some reason I just could not get to sleep. Just as I was drifting off though, I could hear movement in my daughter's room. I completely froze. I literally could not move. I was so panicked because if my daughter wakes up, she'll cry for me. She always cries for me. So as I laid there, thinking, oh my God, there's a murderer, I need to protect my daughter. If it's a ghost, I still need to protect my daughter. But I could just not move. What felt like hours was probably 5 minutes when I finally managed to get all my courage and get up and go to my daughter's door. As I went to my daughter's door, I could still hear movement as if someone was pacing up and down her room, back and forth, back and forth. As I opened the door quietly and pushed it open as the door squeaked, the light going into her room, I saw my daughter standing at the end of her bed, staring at the blank wall. Her whole room was dark, apart from the light from where I'd opened the door. I called her name 3 times, and she never responded. I called her one last time, as she turned to me, looked at me, and just got back in her bed and went back to sleep. I could not believe what had just happened. I could not explain what had just happened. I just don't understand. It's got to be one of the most scariest experiences I've ever had with my daughter. It's never happened again, thank God, and I really hope that it doesn't. Number 3. So, the next night I was home alone. My daughter was staying with her dad. I was half asleep, half awake. You know when you're in a daze, you're laying in bed and you're comfortable and you're thinking about things and your mind starts showing you pictures, but you're still aware of your surroundings and what's going on around you. It was at that moment when something whispered in my ear, Shadi. I jumped up out of bed, absolutely petrified, turned my light on, shut my door, shut my window and jumped back underneath my blanket. I kept playing it over and over again in my mind. Shadi, Shadi. I couldn't believe that that had just happened to me. Now, I know that it was on the outside of my ear and not coming from the inside. I mean, it wasn't a scary voice. It was a very calm, soft voice, and I know that it was a girl. But it still scared the living daylights out of me. Now, this experience hasn't happened to me again, and I really don't want it to. But if anyone else has had this experience, please write a comment below and let me know. Number 4. So, fast forward a couple of years. I've got my boyfriend staying over with me. We decide to watch a movie and just cuddle up in bed. My sister rings and asks me what my daughter's doing for Halloween. I told her my daughter isn't doing anything for Halloween. We do not celebrate the devil's birthday. Just as I said that, my back started to burn, but I didn't think anything of it. We said our goodbyes and I got back into bed. About half an hour later, I took off my top as I was feeling really hot. My boyfriend then turned to me and said, "Where did you get those scratches from?" I looked at him in shock. What scratches? He decided to take a photo, and as you can see, they are big scratches. Now, I don't have any pets, and I definitely couldn't have done this to myself. I don't understand how it happened. Is it a coincidence that I said I don't celebrate the devil's birthday and suddenly my back starts to burn? I don't know. If any of you have had an experience like this before, even have photos, please do send them in and leave your comments below. I'd love to hear from you.